Every 500 years, the dragon who founded the academy arrives to choose a student to tutor directly. You are the weakest mage on record and she has chosen you. I stood before her, shaking in my traveling gear. It had been a feverish night of packing, desperate to make sure I didn't leave anything behind I might need. My personal mementos were crammed into one bag, whilst the other was packed with scrolls, quills, inks, books and crystals. Jen Stishks grinned at me, her fangs nearly the length of my forearm. White scales gleamed in the sun, overlapping in perfect arrangement. I could make out a few of the runes, each scale boasting its own. It was said she wore the entire alphabet of magic on her hide. Now seeing her in person, I could agree with those rumors. 2 large leathery wings were folded against her side, beaded with condensation from her recent flight. Her tail hung behind her, draping over the edge of her landing platform. She was every bit the story said she was, and more. I bowed to her, my body stiff. As you requested, great mage, I have arrived for your tutelage. I heard her laugh, a voice of pure strength resonating in my mind. No need for such formality, little one. We will be spending much time together, and I do not wish for such stiffness between us. Call me Jen, Drake, or other nickname you prefer. A few of her scales flickered, as my luggage vanished. Her head leaned close to me, baring her teeth just slightly. Do you wish to climb up yourself, or shall I deposit you on my back? I couldn't even think of a response, before I felt her nip the back of my clothes. I couldn't help but flail a little as she took me in the air, disoriented by the speed in which she acted. Mere moments later I was placed upon her, other scales flickering again. Bands of force locked around my legs, sealing me in place. She chuckled again, facing away. I could see the lines of other members of the school at the windows, staring at us. Some stared at me, I knew with jealousy. This was an honor to be chosen, one I never dreamed would be for me. Her body shifted, wings suddenly extending outwards. Hold on tight, and do enjoy the flight. I am told it is quite exhilarating. Way. My reply was torn away as she leapt into the air. Wind buffeted me, the change in speed rattling my head and body. I was thankful that I had been too nervous to eat beforehand, empty stomach clenching at the movement. I barely noticed the college fall away, eyes blurring from the pressure. I could only feel her movement, with flashes as things flew past. The roaring of air passing by filled my ears, and I buried my face against her neck. How was anyone meant to enjoy this? Wake up, we're here. I blinked, not realizing I had fallen asleep. Or maybe lost consciousness. One of the two. But now I felt no pressure on my face. Instead it was quite tranquil, though I could still feel Jen Stishks moving below. Blinking, I gasped at the sight. Streaks of light filled the air, a void around us. Twinkling stars dotted the background, like granules of sugar against black counter. Before us floated a slowly rotating tower made from a single chunk of rock, departed from any measure of land. Growths of crystal along its side gave it the appearance of a coral reef. She soared down to a landing platform, claws tapping its polished granite surface. She shook herself, settling in place. Welcome to the Arcane Forge, young one. The bands of force vanished from around my legs. I pushed away, my limbs complaining from the sudden movement. Pins and needles filled them as I slipped down her side, tumbling to an unsightly heap. Focusing,